Benwari, colleagues from the private sector, representatives of UN agencies, colleagues from the press, ladies and gentlemen. I've been invited by the Board of Investment to comment on the word investment report, and I propose for the next 5-6 minutes to mention 6 points which, to my mind, came up when I was going through the report. First of all, it's been mentioned by Minister Benwari in terms of the pickup of the FDI. We are still below, as been said, below the pre-crisis level of 1.9 trillion rupees. We are at around 1.4 trillion. And it looks to be still very, very fragile. And the perceived risk and the regulatory uncertainty came out very strongly in the report. And I think that's for us an important lesson that we have to reckon with. The second point is in terms of the role of emerging economies in the investment movements, both in terms of the inflows and the outflows. The figures have been mentioned. For the first time, emerging economies today have been absorbing more than 50% of the total FDIs, of the total 1.4 trillion, expected to go up to 1.9 trillion by 2013. And that's extremely important in terms of absorptive capacity, but also outflows from the emerging economies, more than 30%. That explains the dynamism of the emerging markets, the potential South-South cooperation, and also some of the problem areas in the developed economy, with the Eurozone crisis and the debt problems in the US. That comes out very clearly in the report. But also what is also an important factor is in terms of the regional flows. East Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, figures have been given by Minister Benwari, are the important regions receiving the FDIs. But we see that in terms of Africa, the LDCs, the landlocked development economies, the SIDS has gone down. It's gone down around 9%, and the total share has gone down from around 5.1 to 4%. That's a matter of concern, except in some specific regions of Africa because of the natural resources. So Africa, the LDCs, the landlocked development, the developing economies, the SIDS, still investment movement is quite low. And that for us is an area that we have to look at closely. There is in the report, in fact the title of the report is on the NEMS. Myself, I must confess that it's quite new and it's very sort of critical for us to look at this closely in terms of policy making and in terms of our investment. The names of the non-equity modes of production is neither FDI nor trade, through contracting manufacturing, contracting of services, outsourcing, contracting in terms of farming, franchising, licensing, and all these today represent about 2 trillion. It's higher than FDI. FDI is about 1.4. Today, what we call NEMS, the non-equity sort of modes of movement of production, both in terms of manufacturing, services, other services, is about 2 trillion. And that, for us, is very, very important. And the report mentioned that we need a strong, enabling legal and institutional framework for it to happen. For the transnational companies to move, the TNCs, they need a framework, a legal framework, whereby they can operate with strong institutions. Mauritius, we've been capacity building very much in the right legal and institutional framework. So that's an area where we can play an important role. And what is also good that those TNCs, the transnational companies, from the emerging economies are moving in the non-equity mode of production and in emerging economies. It's very much of a South-South cooperation. The movement from Asia to Africa is seen to be one whereby this is happening, and therefore for us it's extremely important. We have to build further on that. My last point is Mauritius, of course. How do we connect in all these? We know that in this year, unfortunately, FDI has been relatively low compared to last year. We have to look at this. More importantly, we see also the private sector share of total investment is going down. According to the June figure of CSO, of the Central Statistical Office, the figure is about the private sector share of total investment will put up around 73.2 compared to 75.5 last year. So that's an area we have in it. But also there are a number of the new poles of development we are trying to develop in terms of activities, be it in terms of medical services, maybe in knowledge. These are areas whereby the NEMs will be important. So there is, if I may say, a happy sort of convergence of policies in terms of the new areas we're developing and in terms of the new mode of investment they conquer. For this to happen, I'll conclude by saying it is critical and fundamental that we have the right institutional, legal framework for business to operate. We need clarity, as has been said, transparency, and we need this time rule-based investment environment. I think it's fundamental that we move towards that. Hopefully, all parties can work towards improving this environment. Thank you, Mr. Bye.